Hey guys, it's been a while since I last did one of these. I don't really do these whole commentator replay video things anymore. Partly because I don't really play wargaming titles as much anymore. World of Tanks has changed too much for me to adapt to, and World of Warships I do play, but not as much. Anyway, this is a match in the new Tier 8 premium Soviet battleship, Lenin, which is essentially just a Soviet yoinkage of the Nelson design. Like basically everyone else, the Soviets saw what the British were doing with the Nelson, realised it made sense, all guns forward, shorter ship. Less length of belt means big guns, good armour, for less weight to keep the treaty limits. So this was a design the Soviets explored, they did draft up plans for it, they never built it. They decided they didn't really need it and went on to other things, which also never got built. But anyway, it behaves a lot like the Nelson, which is not surprising. It's actually surprisingly modern looking for when it was designed. If you look at the stern there, it looks almost like a Soviet cruiser or destroyer of the 1970s and 80s, but I digress. With the all-gun forward design, this is actually laid out properly like the Nelson, with all guns facing forwards, not one turret facing rearwards like a certain Navy ship, Izumo. Not only that, but the B turret can traverse through 360 degrees, which is quite handy. The secondary layout, like Nelson's, is biased towards the stern. Even the superstructure is quite reminiscent of Nelson. It does play kind of similar. You can juke people while driving towards them. You have a limited number of damage control parties because it's the same gimmick as the rest of the Soviet line. You get a limited number, but the cooldown's really short, so you can play super aggressively, but you pay for it late game. Anyway, I have decided, English is hard, to record this and upload it because it demonstrates something you don't really see very often, which is a team that works together really well. This felt more like a Clan Wars match to me from the old days of World of Tanks than it did a pub match with randoms I'd never played with before. And there's a very simple reason for this, which was a critical part of any clan success in World of Tanks Clan Wars, and presumably World of Warships Clan Wars, although I haven't played it. Which a lot of people kind of overlooked and pubbies don't really understand. And it's also why a lot of people who thought they were good at World of Tanks turned out to actually not be as good as they thought they were, and damage numbers didn't really mean a whole lot. So our team splits fairly evenly. The guys going east are kind of thin on the ground, but they do have a battleship and two cruisers kind of backstopping them behind the island. I mean, it's not the best deployment, but most of the enemy team came our side anyway. You'll see me doing dumb shit, you'll see me giving broadsides to the enemy. Like, I'm not the greatest at this game, and it's been a while since I played it. I'm still getting used to battleships now. But again, this isn't down to any individual player's play, this is how our team interacted. What you'll notice very shortly here is that as ships start losing hit points, the team starts focusing them. And so, almost the entire duration of this match, the team is focusing the ship with the lowest amount of hit points that is visible and within gun range. This is really important. This ties into the kind of Clan Wars calling that was employed during the days of NDP by not just us, but a lot of clans. And this is the difference between a good clan who doesn't necessarily have individually good players, but they work well as a group, and a shit clan who has individually good players but can't win matches. And this is why a lot of pub-star clans, made up of people who played well in pubs, kind of died on their ass because they couldn't do this. So, the philosophy behind focusing fire is that you're always working to remove the lowest health enemy from the game. This is because in a wargaming title, because of the way that the damage system works and everything like that, a ship could have, or a tank, could have one hit point, it could have one measly hit point, but as long as it still has that hit point, it can shoot you, and it can output damage. Theoretically, it can output as much damage as if it had full health, right? And so, by knocking out enemy vehicles, one by one, you're always reducing the number of guns that can shoot at you. If you spread your damage around, you might dissuade individual players from being where they are, but you're not taking guns out of the equation, and you're still taking the full damage of whatever the fuck is pointed at you. So you can see here the Amagi's leaving my gun range, so I've switched to the Atago, and you can see the team is focusing whatever is lowest health that it has shots on. There's a couple guys shooting at the Edinburgh there, but there's a lot of shells going for the Atago, and there was a lot of shells going for that Amagi before. Here I'm trying to use an island as shelter to shell this guy. I don't want to get too aggressive in this ship because I tend to overextend quite badly. Much like when I'm playing the Nelson. Big surprise. You can see here as well, I'm actually actively calling for focus fire on ships. I do this out of habit. It's a habit I formed a long time ago in World of Tanks, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, it depends if people are actually willing to listen to you, but usually they get the idea of what's going on. Now here I decided to switch to Tirpitz because I had a better angle and more people are shooting at him. And here we go. Look at all that fire going on him. That is just knocking down his health. Too fast for him to do anything about, and it's going to remove a gun from the battle. He's now out of my shot, so I'm going for the next guy, or I was planning on it, but I realized that Tirpitz is going to have to come out from behind that island sooner or later. So I decide, you know what, I'm going to hold shots on the Colorado. I don't have a good angle on him, and I don't want to have to switch to HE. So I'm just going to hold shots. I'm going to wait for the Terp to come out from behind that island, shoot over our Bismarck, and look at that focus. Down goes the Tier 8 battleship. At this point, I call for focus on the Colorado. He's the only remaining thing here in our range, and it makes sense to knock him down. You can see in the east we've lost a cruiser. The destroyer there is looking pretty screwed, and the battleship's pulled all the way back. So we've lost 2 ships so far, which isn't too bad, really. Now 3, as the Fusion goes down. We also have a genius Sinop charging up the straight. Suicide Alley, he does very little. As most people do, charge up Suicide Alley. At this point, I noticed that the east has pretty much collapsed. I think about the same time most of the other guys with me in the west had noticed this, and so we start pulling back to the base. This is another important thing. You need to be paying attention to the rest of the map. No matter what's going on where you are, you need to be ready to turn around and haul ass back to base. Now, the standard puppy thing to do here is to cap swap. They'll try and cap fast before the enemy caps fast. It never works. It's a bad idea. And if we tried it here, we would be driving into the guns of about 4 or 5 different ships while a single cruiser capped us out. It wouldn't work. So instead, I start heading back. The other battleships of their own initiative, without even having to be told by me, turn around as well. It's like we're all on the same wavelength in this match. It was really something. And all we need is for the Edinburgh to stay alive just long enough for us to get back there. Now, the enemy team haven't been focusing fire much at all, at least not where I've been able to see it. Not only that, but they're not sticking together very well. If there's one thing I can say for the Sinop, it's that his suicide charge at least tied them up a little in their own base, and possibly bamboozled them as to what our team was planning to do. But you can already see here, I'm sitting on 59,000 damage. We've cleaned the left flank of enemy ships. There's nothing there. The Amagi turned and ran back to his own cap. There's a couple of ships that we know were coming down through the east. There's about probably half the team, the other half's in their cap. And we now have the entire remaining force of our team converging on our own cap to defend it. Which is a lot of firepower. I mean, really, 8 ships against 4 ships, do the maths. Especially when 4 of those ships are battleships on our team. Now, the storm is complicating things for both teams here. We can't see what's capping, or at least I can't. And the enemy team also have no idea what's coming for them. The big concern here was the central channel. A DD down that maybe and shitting torps into our cap could have caused us some issues, and that is in fact what they ended up trying to do. I'll just go ahead and spoil that one for you now. But you can see me here coming into range on this guy, and once again we're focusing them down. I tell the cruisers to focus the destroyer, while the battleships focus the battleships. Makes sense, right? The Ismail is in a really bad position. He's basically fucked here. We do lose the Baltimore, unfortunately, to a shitstorm of torpedoes. You can see me start considering switching targets here. I know the Ismail is going to die very shortly. In fact, he dies right there. I'm not quick enough to stop firing before he does go down. But I'm preparing to engage the destroyers here. Now that's a pretty good spread. It looks like I'm fucked here. Thankfully, I dodged one of the torps, so I do survive it, even though I lose a shitload of hit points. We've now got a battleship and a cruiser coming in at once. The cruiser gets focused first since he's easier, and the Amagi just fucking melts under the combined fire of all these ships. Like, this focus fire is something else. We now know that they've got at least one destroyer in that central channel. There's a good chance there might be another coming down it. Obviously the carrier is going to stay on the north side of the map, so we only have 4 ships in play on their team that we have to worry about. Again, you'll notice we're all bunched up together. This is good mutual defense. It means we can effectively focus our fire. It means that we can effectively screen each other from aircraft. And it's easy to coordinate. It's also fucking pants-shittingly scary for the first enemy ship to come into visual range of us. The Edinburgh gets lit. We're all prepared for it. I get off a salvo, it's not a particularly great one, but Nürnberg gets off a shitload of torps. Bismarck and I are both ready for the moment either he gets relit or the smoke clears. You can see I was on HE in case the destroyer popped. I've gone back to AP now because although it's less than optimal for the destroyer, if I can catch that Edinburgh side on, he's absolutely hosed. Our own sweeps in as well. There's the Leningrad. But the cruiser reappears and he's the juicy target, so he gets the broadside. And there goes the focus. The Leningrad is not going to last very much longer. His torps missed me. Bismarck survived as well. And that's him dealt with. They now have 1 destroyer. We don't know where he is. He hasn't been seen. They have 1 battleship who is coming in from the west side, which we cleared out before, so he's going to be a relatively easy target. It's going to be easy to focus. It's Amagi. It's the same Amagi that ran away from me at the start of the game. You can see the carriers trying to pitch in here, but it's not working out real well for him because we're so clustered together. We do have some mutual defense going on. Now, here I oversteer into a torp. If Ibuki lands 1 hit on me, he also sinks the Nürnberg. But it's not really that big of a deal. I narrowly get missed by one of the aircraft torps there. But the Amagi's pretty much fucked because of what he's just sailed into. Everyone is shooting at him because he's the only target. There's nothing else to shoot at. Even the carrier's joining it. down he goes, melted by the combined fire of 3 battleships and a cruiser, with some help from our carriers, rocket fighters. And this is the thing with any sort of team game. You don't want to do the classic puppy thing of all-in one flank because they think the other flanks are lost. That's a bad idea. You don't want to leave one flank totally open. That's how you get a cap swap. What you do is you send a screening force to one flank, so at the very least you know what's coming, and you make sure the other flank's ready to turn around if need be, like we did in this game. You don't just continue pushing to the cap because, oh, we can cap fast. Never works. Never works. If in doubt, turn back and defend your own cap, and remember that in World of Warships the cap mechanics work different to the way they used to in World of Tanks. I assume they still work the same. In the case of the timer running down, if you have significantly more points over the enemy, you will win. It won't be a draw. So, always, if in doubt, return to your own cap first, clean up the mess there, and then go for the enemy cap like we are here. They've got a destroyer and a fucking aircraft carrier. What the fuck are they going to do? You can also see we're splitting here. Now, this is the first time our team actually splits up since the beginning of the game. I'm staying with the Bismarck, and we're going up the west flank, and then those guys are going up the other side. They've just found the Fubuki, because that's where he'd been lurking most of the time, sort of to the east there. You could tell where he was from the torps, but no one really needed to push out on him because he wasn't that big of a factor in the engagement, right? He was just lobbing torps and hoping that he connected with someone, and sure enough, under the combined weight of all that fire, down he goes as well. He actually ate a torp from the key, which is interesting. Fucking destroyer getting torpedoed by a battleship. Don't see that every day. At this point, there's nothing left to do except mop up the aircraft carrier. We've still got 3 minutes on the clock. We have a comfortable lead in points. Not only that, but the carrier's probably running quite low on planes at this point. I've shot down 13 with my anti-aircraft guns and another 3 with my fighters. I'd imagine most of the other guys on the team have got at least a couple kills under their belts as well. Again, we were staying so close together that even the ships with sort of more mediocre or poor anti-aircraft defense were screened by the ships with better anti-aircraft defense. This is the thing. You don't want to be so close together as to get in each other's way, but you don't want to be outside of each other's mutual defense envelopes. You have to stay as a unit to whatever degree you can, which you could see us really doing in that cap as well. It lets you swarm people. Like, as soon as they sent ships in 1s and 2s into our cap, they were done, because we just had overwhelming firepower, and this is the kind of Clan Wars mentality. So, most clans didn't have the best players, but if they had good callers and the players would listen to the call, they could focus down much better players just under the sheer weight of fire, right? And you would make sacrifices as necessary to get the kills. You could tolerate to lose a bit of hit points on each tank or each ship if it meant knocking out 1 or 2 enemy. Same mentality applies here. You rarely ever see it in pub matches, but this was a great example of focus fire.